Hello and welcome to another edition of the NRS Insights podcast. I'm John Lovestock, and today I am proud to have Joe Randazza. Joe is the CEO of iVertical Payment Networks, and Joe is the former CEO and founder, I believe, right, of the National Payment Card Association, which really had a transformative effect on the convenience store industry. Joe is a longtime entrepreneur in the C-store and petroleum industry with successful exits from multiple companies that he has founded, and he has been an angel investor in numerous other startup companies. Joe is someone I've known for many, many years. So that makes you old, Joe, not me. Uh, and I'm very proud to have you. Proud to talk to you about some of the things you've accomplished throughout your time in the industry and some of the products that you're working on now. So welcome, Joe. How are you?
I'm good, John. Thanks for taking this opportunity.
Great. I'm like I said, I know that you and I have talked through the years about the effect that National Payment Card had on the industry and kind of what that led to for retailers in terms of debit card acceptance and kind of changing the way they do business. And that company, are you happy to see how that company has blossomed and how that has changed the industry?
Yeah, just to give some color on that, 20 years ago, when the honor roll suit was happening with Walmart and the retail industry and Visa and MasterCard, when that was settled, I brought to market a new regulatory opportunity where ACH would become a settlement method for the convenience store industry. And we launched that in 2004, and it's been adopted in over 27,000 locations. Over the last 20 years, it's done about 1.2 billion transactions, saving the industry approximately $515 million in interchange dollars. And it drove approximately $56 million in annual processing away from traditional card companies. I mean, the best example of what private label decoupled debit did for consumers is Cumberland Farms.
Mm.
Cumberland Farms tracks about $5 billion in fuel sales from this program. So it really has had an impact on merchants. And today, National Payment Card is known as Zipline, and it's operated by PBI.
Hmm.
But we formed iVertical Payment in 2017 with the emergence of a new regulatory environment, and that new regulatory environment is real-time payment. And we believe that that's going to, use your word, transform the fleet industry.
So why the fleet industry? What led you to the fleet industry? What opportunities did you see there?
It's in the fleet industry, there's a common problem. There are three or four major, incredibly good companies that operate fleet products, but they're all credit based,
Hmm.
which means about 40% of the local community businesses are turned down because they don't meet the credit underwriting. They're in business less than 5 years. They don't have the type of bank accounts that's necessary. They don't have the credit. Okay. But these are the local community businesses, it's the plumbers, it's the landscapers, it's the electricians, the ones that for regional operators are their neighbors, the ones that are community businesses. And this has been a problem in the industry that has not been addressed up to this point. And with the emergence of real-time payment, and if you're not familiar with real-time payment has been in Europe for the last 10, 12 years. The Federal Reserve has brought real-time payment into the United States. It still is not necessarily a fully baked product, but we have found a solution in real-time payment to bring this to the industry. And the reason why this makes sense for fleets is because with real-time payment, having a real-time payment debit card, a regional merchant never has to say no to a community business. It gives them the ability not to put their brand and have brand equity issues, because if you get turned down, you don't know that it's Wex turning you down. You think it's the guy that has a sign on the window.
Hmm.
And that's created bad will. And the industry for years have been looking for a solution, and our approved fleet product is that solution.
Okay, I want to go back to something you said real quick. 40% of local businesses are declined for credit. So that means the bigger guys, like you mentioned, Wex or Right Express, and the big players, for what reason? They don't see them as big in a volume. They don't have the right bank accounts. Like, why are these businesses turned down?
Well, essentially, the 40% represents light fleet vehicles.
Okay.
the vans, the pickup trucks that are riding
Hmm.
around the community. And they're guys that basically the average local fleet is about 8 vehicles, and they just don't have enough credit history, or they don't have the right credit rating. And for whatever underwriting mechanisms they're using, these are being turned down. And I got to tell you, John, we've spoken to retailers that have said as much as 70% of their applications have been turned down.
Wow. So the fuel volume for a local convenience store guy is enormous because these aren't the big truck stops out on the highways. This is
So,
the local gas station, could be in a rural area, could be in an urban area, but in terms of volume, that's a
John,
heavy fuel volume.
if I'm a Midwest guy and I live in a community that maybe has 100,000 people, my wife is bringing the kids into that regional brand to
Mhm.
fill up the van for soccer practice. And I go in there to fill up my vehicles, but I can't send my trucks there.
Yeah, and then something else you just touched on too is that they don't realize it's the third party that's turning them down, right? So they think
Oh,
it's their local convenience store with whom their wife and their children have a relationship with.
that's right. And what's interesting about all of this, John, is we spoke about Cumberland Farms and what we've done for consumers by going ahead and making that a consumer loyalty program.
Mhm.
No one has brought fleet loyalty to the market. In our program, the way that it works, we know the drivers are at the site, they're in the station. So what we do is once they go ahead and hit submit, we know that there we'll send them a recent purchase email from the merchant, branded from the merchant with their offering with coupons. Okay.
Okay.
Or it can be a text message with coupons. But what's really good about what we put together is, a lot of these local fleet businesses are employing people that may speak Spanish or Creole. So when we go ahead and set it up with the fleet operators, okay, they go ahead and assign what language is for the driver. And when we communicate with the driver, we do it in their language.
All right. So
And
that
and and the merchant has the opportunity to drop into our system the coupons for a particular group that might appeal for certain segments. And we segment it out where in the morning, if they're there, it might be a breakfast offer. In the afternoon, it might be a lunch offer. At night, it might be something else. But this is fleet loyalty as well as the ability to reach local businesses.
so they are not able to do it, or the big boys are not taking the time to do it without giving away too many trade secrets. How are you able to do it? How does it work technical, for the technology work?
So that's the right word, technology. And how does it work? Okay. What we've put together after understanding the industry for 20 years, we know how difficult it is for merchants, particularly somebody with 25 to 50 or 100 stores, to have the technical resources to launch a payment program.
Hmm.
So our program, Approved Fleet, is characteristically different than what we've done before. There is no POS integration and no pump controller integration because we're an open loop card that travels the Pulse and NICE debit networks. There is no underwriting required by the merchant. We do all the underwriting. We take all the credit risk. So the
Hmm.
merchant doesn't have any of that responsibility that takes place. And there are a number of programs operating today by merchants, and they don't realize that they're not meeting the federal guidelines for moving money, the OFAC, the Bank Secrecy Act issues, the
Hmm.
anti-money laundering issues, which they could all be subject to fine. Your question is, how are we doing this? And the way that we're doing this is we went back to our roots. We went back to building a platform that is a turnkey debit card platform that, as I said, has no credit underwriting, no IT requirements. We're going after a market it isn't being serviced today. It's not that WEX and the other operators can't do it. It's they're not going to cannibalize their margins. Today they charge anywhere from 2.25% or 1.5% up to 3.5%.
Hmm.
Our model is based on a flat fee. Okay, approximately $1 a transaction, including debit card fees. So today, when gallons are 3.25, it's $1 as opposed to 3%. When it's $4, it's $1 as opposed to 3%. So merchants really have enough money and the ROI to be able to give discounts to local businesses like they do consumers, where they've never had that opportunity before. And this is really a first to market opportunity to people that get involved now to be able to capture business away from competitors.
What's required on the retailer's part? I'm trying to visualize this in my head. Is it is the fleet required to have an app, a smartphone? Is there scanning that goes on? Kind of walk me through the entire process from pulling up onto the lot till filling up and leaving.
Right. So this is a card-based program, and people will say, how come it's not an app? Well, the truth of the matter is, John, and we know the statistic, absolutely. Mobile payment is really still under 8%. Okay,
Hmm.
maybe if you're on the Apple or Google system, it might be 11 or 12, but it's still not very widely used. The most success has been Cumberland Farms with that app. So we're
Hmm.
a cloud-based program. The driver goes, the fleet operator goes ahead and we onboard them. We do all the credit applications. We take not the credit applications. We do all the underwriting. Okay. Then we work directly with the fleet operators. The merchants don't have to do any of that. Okay. We
Okay.
actually send the cards to the fleets at our expense. Okay. When a driver is enrolled in this program, he has a PIN number that's only known to him. He goes to the pump, okay, enters his PIN number, and he receives a text link that he opens up, and it's a form. And he puts in his vehicle identification number, he puts in the odometer reading, he puts in the amount of gallons that was purchased, okay, and the dollar amount. He hits send, and then it drops into the fleet administrator portal. So
Okay.
there's no integration into a pump controller. There's none of that technology.
So is that information also aggregated by the retail, I'm sorry, by the fleet, so that they can use that data to understand how many miles they're getting per gallon, the mileage of the trucks and their vehicles, maybe when it's up for an oil change, things like that. There's a lot of good data,
It's the same reporting system that any fleet would have if they were with a traditional fleet company. We give them the same reporting systems. It's the same data that's there. What's different is for the merchant. The merchant has the ability to communicate with the driver to bring them inside the store.
which is huge because according to the National Association of Convenience Stores, the number of people that actually go into the stores is still very, very low when they get gas, still under 50%.
So, John, here's an interesting statistic. We're speaking to a 75 store operator, and we've run the numbers for them. They do about 100,000 gallons per store. Okay. This program with a typical fleet of 8 vehicles, okay, picking up about 3 fleets a month per store. This program will produce an extra 475,000 to 500,000 gallons a month. That's like having 4 to 5 new stores.
100% plus any lift in the convenience store if they get just a 10% lift in the C store.
We're projecting a lift that's roughly converting 20% of the people that go to the pump to come inside the store. And in
Okay.
that particular case, it's about $20,000 a month of in-store lift.
Sure. That's great. And what's then the feedback from retailers so far? Are you getting a lot of is there a lot of eye opening going on? Is there a lot of people must have questions?
The feedback has been this is a problem that they've been looking for a solution. So
Hmm.
the feedback and our onboarding of merchants has been absolutely amazing. And we'll be in market first quarter because we had to wait for some of the real-time payment regulations to kind of get finalized. So we'll be in market first quarter. Uh, what we're asking for a merchant, our relationship with a merchant is really based on 2 things. Number one, merchants are the ability for us to acquire and for them to acquire fleets. We're simply asking them to put us into their planogram. The planogram for outside of the pump, either put us in pump signs, pump toppers, pricing signs, hose signs, garbage
Hmm.
cans. Promote your branded fleet card. Okay. And the second is give us the applications that have been rejected over the last 12 or 18 months. And we'll contact the fleets that have been rejected and we'll convert them,
Hmm.
bring them back in.
Excellent.
Now, people will say, and we've heard, well, we have a contract with Fuelman and Fuelman doesn't allow it. You know, John, it's funny. 20 years ago, when we were bringing Speedway on board, their conversation was Heartland won't allow us to do any other type of payment. And
Hmm.
our response then and our response now is your contract is silent. Your contract doesn't speak to debit cards. And how could an operator give you a brand equity issue when they're rejecting 40% of the people you're bringing to them?
And there were a number of lawsuits against card providers over the years that the courts kind of squashed out that non-competitive practice. So it seems like it's an open opportunity right now.
Yeah, so this is really for the early adopters. This is really a first to market opportunity for them to be able to get local businesses before this is available in every corner.
Again, and yeah, and I want to emphasize that this is not a over-the-road 18-wheeler fleet card program. This is more, Proof Fleet is more of the local fleet, which is probably what 90% of the fleet business anyway. I mean, if
It's an underserved market that
Mhm.
that really is there to produce gallons. But here's what's also interesting, because we've learned that being in the consumer business. We're not asking merchants to put up any money. There's no minimums, there's no requirements. Our only requirement with them is go ahead to promote this. And as an example, we're speaking to one merchant that wants the program to be incorporated into their loyalty program. We're not going ahead and charging $25,000 to go ahead and do 15 hours of code. Okay. We want to build the business for ourselves through merchants, and we just want to be a good partner and bring this out.
it seems like the opportunity, it's an organic fit for convenience store retailers of all sizes. And again, we use the word transformative when talking about national payment card. If you start talking about the numbers that you're dealing with, you're talking about a 400% lift in gallons sold. That is enormous.
Well, more importantly than that, John, we're not looking to replace what they're doing today. We can
Mhm.
operate side by side with the fleet programs they currently have. All we're looking to do is to service a market that they don't have today.
So tell me about how retailers, people listening, how can they get in touch with this new venture or get in touch with you personally?
Okay. Uh, John, I think you put contact information into your
Yep.
podcast.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
My
You can go through
contact
me.
information will be there in terms of my email and my telephone number.
Good.
Okay. Many of you know people on our teams. Roger Brooks has joined us as
Mhm.
our Chief Revenue Officer. And if you know Roger, you can contact Roger directly. His information will also be on the bottom of this podcast.
Good, good. Any website or anything you want to promote?
Approvedfleet.com will be coming up within the next week or so. But
Excellent.
our approach to this, John, is not trying to sell this opportunity through a website. When we meet with somebody, we do a whole Madison Avenue presentation. We
Hmm.
put together an entire presentation for the entire organization showing them how this works. And once again, no IT resources. Okay. The only thing we're asking for them to do is promote this in the station and to provide us the list of people that have been rejected.
Okay, very good. And let's see, we touched up on the opportunity in terms of the fleet and the gallons sold. So, but is there any other information you care to, fill us in about in this opportunity?
I think the information is, I've always been a guy that's been quiet behind the scenes with National Payment Card.
Hmm.
The people that did get to know National Payment Card and us as a team, we really work as an inside resource. And we don't try to, the only thing we charge you is what we get in terms of success. If we bring transactions in, we process transactions, that's how we get paid. We want to build your business. And we have, we got to 27,000 accounts, national accounts such as Circle K, regional accounts
Hmm.
such as Partners. Okay, we're looking to do what we've done for these businesses with consumers now with fleet, and there's no one else in the marketplace that's in the position to go ahead and bring this opportunity to the table.
And it's hard to, I can't overstate how important it is that there's not an investment required, that this is something you can add into your company right now with very little upfront money, right? Or no, virtually no money upfront at all, and you can be up and
The,
running.
the only financial requirement is putting up signage, which is not uncommon in your business. You're promoting your brand. And in the case of someone like a Cumberland Farms, they promoted the Smart Pay program. That increased their business by 25%. It really helped build that brand.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
believe, I believe that what Approved Fleet will do for the industry is go ahead and for the people that get involved, particularly early, get, we'll bring in extra 25, 30% gallons to their business.
And they're still feeling the effects today. I mean, who doesn't have that Cumberland, was it Smart Pay app on their phone? Every time up in New England, I log into that thing and get 10 cents off a gallon. It's wonderful. All right, well, Joe, I want to thank you for joining us. Any other closing words?
Give us an opportunity. We'll show you how we're going to help your business.
Outstanding. All right, well, Joe, I want to thank you for joining us today. Again, this is the NRS Insights podcast brought to you by National Retail Solutions. The NRS network has more than 32,000 active terminals scanning purchases at independent retailers, bodegas, and convenience stores across the country. I want to thank Joe for participating this week.
Thank you, John.
I want to thank you all for listening, and we hope to get you on a future NRS podcast Insights. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.